Thank you, Ankur, for taking your time out and sharing your journey with all these aspiring students. Let's begin with your educational background. Let's talk about your schooling, your bachelor's, master's, and your PhD and a postdoc. So let's talk about those things first.
Sure, yeah. So I originally grew up in Ghaziabad in India, near Delhi,
Okay.
and that's where I did my high school. And then I basically went on to do my bachelor's at IIT Delhi in chemical
Mm-hmm.
engineering. And that was between 2008 to 2012. And
Okay.
then right after my undergrad, I joined the PhD program on chemical engineering at MIT. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a joint master's plus PhD program.
Okay.
Uh, and then I finished that in 2017. And then I joined Princeton as a postdoc, where I'm currently still working.
Okay, okay. And I want to know, what is your area of specialization currently in
Right, right,
your postdoc, what it is?
right. Yeah. So in my PhD, I was working more on in chemical engineering, working on interfacial phenomena and fluid mechanics. But as a
Mm-hmm.
postdoc, I've been working more on ion transport for applications in batteries and supercapacitors, which are essentially energy storage space.
Okay, so pretty new thing for a person like me.
Yeah.
And now let's talk about your, in terms of application. Since you also studied in MIT,
Right.
I want to know when you were when you planned that you have to go to US and study or do your masters. Can you name the university that you applied, and out of those university, how many of
Right.
how many university gave you admit?
Right. Yeah. So I applied to, I applied in the US to 5 universities, I think. Yeah. I applied to Princeton as a
Mm-hmm.
PhD student, Princeton, MIT, Stanford, Caltech,
Okay.
and Harvard. And I think my Harvard application, I don't know, like, I think it was probably not, it didn't go through. So I would
Mm-hmm.
say, like, but I did apply there. I did get a reject from Caltech, but I
Okay.
got admits from Stanford, Princeton, and MIT. And
Okay.
I chose MIT. And then I had also applied to University of Cambridge in UK, so which I also got admit from, but I also
Okay.
declined it.
So, was there a particular reason why you chose Princeton, to pursue your postdoc, and as well as when you chose MIT over
Right.
other university? Was there a particular reason?
Right. I think it's very different. So for a PhD, I would say it's very important which school you are going to, which
Mm-hmm.
department you are going to. So some departments are stronger in some universities. MIT has a strong chemical engineering department, but so you actually choose a department and then you choose your lab. But I would
Okay.
say at the postdoc, you just choose one person you want to work with, the lab you want to work in. So the
Okay.
departments don't matter as much. So, but I chose MIT specifically. They have a strong chemical engineering department. They had a lot of labs with very diverse research areas. So when I
Mm-hmm.
joined, I could choose from multiple kinds of areas. I didn't have to be, I had more options. So for instance,
Okay.
Princeton's department is smaller department in chemical engineering, and
Mm-hmm.
MIT has a bigger department, and both are strong departments. But I thought that that was one of the reasons. And then I could see myself like working with 4 or 5 professors.
Okay.
So that also helped in deciding MIT.
Okay, perfect. And I want to know, in your opinion, what should be the criteria for choosing the university when a student have admit from multiple university, like in your case, right? You got the admission was offered by multiple universities. So, are
Right.
there certain criteria that a student should keep in mind in their mind before choosing which one to go?
Yeah, I think so. I think like it really depends. So I would say if you have gotten multiple offers, the best thing is to reach out to students who are currently studying there, because they
Okay.
are the ones who would be, the best source of information, or you kind of you look around and gather information from different sources to figure out what works the best for you. So for instance, when you're doing a master's or you're doing a PhD, you're
Mm-hmm.
probably trying to get some specialization. It's not a generic course. You're probably trying to
Okay.
get some experience in some area. So if you're an electrical engineer, you may be looking to get more into circuits, or you may be looking into more into grid storage. If you're a mechanical
Mm-hmm.
engineering, you may be wanting to go to design. If you're a chemical engineer, you may want be wanting to go into pharmaceuticals. So it really depends on what you're interested in.
Okay.
And I think it would be good to gather that information from students, from different sources, speak with students, connect with them, talk to them. And then, of course, at the end, there is always a question of if you want to get funded for your master's, who's funding your
Mm-hmm.
master's. And so I think all these factors really make the choice very individual rather than
Okay.
just a set of parameters. But I would say gathering information and seeing what really fits your interest is the best way to do it.
Best way to go. Okay. I believe Connectbud would be a great platform in
Yeah, I
that
think
case,
so.
yeah, for the
Yeah,
students.
right.
Okay. Now coming to your, exams, your TOEFL and GRE, I want to know how did you prepare for these exams?
Great.
Did you go to any, coaching institute? Did you take any online classes?
I did not. So I think I mostly did study on my own. I would say like GRE definitely needs some preparation. Like you would not like be able to give it with minimal preparation. So I think GRE, the pattern had changed when I had just given the exam. So I think it still is the same pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And I just do a lot of, I think, practice questions, practice whatever is typically asked. So I think would probably have studied for about a month or two. I would say that was probably on the lower side. I would say
Okay.
people generally study 3 months. That's
Yeah.
I just ran out of time, so I did not start early enough. I would say
Okay.
studying 3 months. Yeah, I think you can probably take some online practice questions. If you really
Mm-hmm.
need help, you can go to coaching classes. But I particularly think like because the skill set is generally generic, English
Mm-hmm.
and math,
Mm-hmm.
you could do it on your own, but it really depends again on the person. For TOEFL, I think I just studied for a weekend. It was generally it's a relatively easy exam compared to GRE.
Compared to GRE.
Again, it also depends on your English proficiency. So if you need help, you may need more time. But my English wasn't particularly very good at that time. Now that I've been here, it has improved. So I don't think TOEFL I had studied much, and
Mm-hmm.
it was. But GRE, I definitely felt I did not study enough, and
Okay.
I think definitely spending time for that would be helpful for
And
reference.
did you give GRE again, like after, graduating from MIT to get into Princeton, or was that
Oh
not
no,
required?
I think yeah, for postdoc it's not required. For I think
It's
it's
not
generally at
required.
master's or PhD stage you need GRE. And depending on who is applying for TOEFL, you may be even waived. TOEFL is sometimes waived. For instance, some
Okay.
departments waive TOEFL. So just check in advance which schools you're applying to, whether they
Mm-hmm.
really need TOEFL or IELTS or both or whatever is the criteria. But yeah, I did not give it again. And when I was applying, my score was kind of mediocre. It wasn't really
Mm-hmm.
good, but I was told that you have enough, so don't try to spend more time and improve the score or
Okay.
just like
So
yeah.
what was your, like, out of curiosity, what was your TOEFL and GRE score
Yeah, I think
that time?
TOEFL, if I remember correctly, I think it was 117 out of
Okay.
120. So TOEFL was good. GRE was, I think, if I'm not wrong, 322. That's my recollection. And
Okay.
Quant was probably 169 and verbal was 153. That's what I remember.
Okay.
So
Um,
verbal was definitely on the lower side, I would say.
so did MIT had a cutoff for, a GRE in your, for your particular course? Did they
I
had a cutoff?
I don't know. So that's a good question. I don't think they do generally have a cutoff, but if your score is really low, that may
Mm-hmm.
not reflect good on your application. So I think it really depends. So for instance, if everything else is good on their application and GRE is the only low score factor, then I think they may overlook it.
Okay.
It really so it's a very subjective process. I wouldn't say it's like there is a number you can kind of try to target.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say like doing better is helpful. Like it's just
Okay.
best to be on the safe side. I would say higher score is definitely it looks good on your application. Doesn't draw any red flags. But if you
Okay.
have a low score, they may not. Even if you have good credentials, they may like kind of take it
And
as
if I
a
have to ask you between GRE and your what do you call it? It's your GPA, right?
right, right,
So
right.
which is which could be one of the prime factor when it comes to getting admission in a good university? So do
I
you
think
need
I think GPA. I think GPA is I think the probably a stronger factor. I would say
stronger factor?
yeah, I would think so. Like I mean, like I will be soon becoming a faculty, and I'm sure like if I read any application, GPA is the one thing you definitely do look at, and so I think GRE it's good to have a good score. So try to be good at it, but GPA is something you do over a long period of time. So I think
Hmm.
that's why they take more weightage of GPA. So you
Okay.
develop your GPA over 3.5 years, 4 years, sometimes 5 years.
Hmm.
So I would say like GPA is definitely, in my opinion, definitely a more
Okay.
critical
Has a
factor.
more weightage compared to your
I would
GRE.
think so. Yeah, it's again subjective, but I would think so. Yeah.
Okay. And how did you prepare for your visa interview? Do you have any tips or suggestions for the aspiring students?
Yeah, I think like once you have your I-20, generally there is not much you can do. It's a bit of a luck factor there. So I
Mm-hmm.
have heard people like getting stuck and waitlisted. I was lucky enough to get it the first time, but I did get waitlisted when I was trying to renew it. And there's
Okay.
not much you can do. Like it just depends on who you have as the officer there. Just like know about your university that you've got. So you would only get an interview once you have your I-20.
Hmm.
And so you just know about your university, know like you should be able to articulate what you will be
Okay.
studying there,
Hmm.
what region of the US you will be in. Like it shouldn't be like when I'm saying I'm going to MIT and I don't even know it's in Massachusetts, right? Like things
Okay.
like basic
Yeah, that basic things.
basic things they expect. And then I think they generally do like just make sure, I mean, your answers are the same as what you have written in your form, which, I mean, if
Hmm.
you are truthful, I don't think that's an issue. But it's like, generally, I have heard that they don't reject your once you have your I-20, but they
Hmm.
can put you on your waiting list. But that is so much dependent on what you field you are in. So if you're in a bio area, it's more likely that they will put you on the waiting list and will do a background check. But
Okay.
it's a bit of a luck. So yeah, just be basic, have the basic information and be confident and be truthful. I think that
Okay,
would be my
good. And now coming to, I've heard from a lot of students that there are a lot of private agencies who help them with visa related document and the entire application process. So would you recommend something like that, or have you ever used services of such private agencies? Can you hear me, Ankur? Oops.